Happy Thursday. Oh, Dr. Tanji Marshall here. And it's Thursday, and I'm here in Florida. Very different place because I just did a keynote today for Impact Florida and really talking about how to go from engagement to empowerment, looking at student agency. So that's how I started my day. That's why I'm not at home and you don't see all my regular stuff behind me. But I'm thankful for the opportunity to share, to really deal with all of the interesting things that are going on in the world regarding education. So let me back up. Who am I? I am Dr. Tanji Reed Marshall. I am CEO and the principal consultant of Liaison Educational Partners, where our business is around helping educational entities, state level, district level, school level, and those agencies and organizations that support them be who they say they are. We help them look at their curriculum, we help them strengthen their instruction, and we look at ways to strengthen the culture of the environment. And that's what we do. And so I just wanted to share who we are and what we do with you. I also want to ask you to please like this. We're building this channel. We're learning about YouTube and how to do all these YouTubey things. And so I'm going to ask you to go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. You're going to see some improvements over the next couple of months to make this more interactive, but we're just getting started. So please go ahead and join this channel with us and be on this Let's Talk Power journey together. So here we are, and it is Thursday. I also want you to think about what is making you thankful today and lean into that, because there's a lot of things where there's a lot going on where we can choose to not be thankful. And gratitude is really important. So we're going to get started today. We've been talking a lot about the idea. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. We've been talking a lot about this idea of the power in history. So this channel, Let's Talk Power Live, really is about power in education and how power moves and operates in educational spaces. We're coming to the end of Black History Month, and I wanted to really focus on the power in history is in remembering. We started that conversation last week, and I want to bring that back up to you today in this conversation. And I promise you, what we're going to talk about today, you did not learn this in school. So as always, first things first, I am going to ask you, do you have a copy of the book? I'm going to put a banner up here right now so you can put a link in. You can either scan the QR code that's showing up right now, or you can type this link into your browser. It will take you to our website where you can get a copy of this book. It is a game changer. It changes the way you think, and it changes the way you understand agency. And the next thing I'm going to put up here is about our website. Please go ahead and visit our website so that you can learn all about the organization, what we do, and how we can partner with you to advance student agency and make sure kids get the excellent education they deserve. So history is a battleground. Let me say it again. History is a battleground because the person or group who quote unquote wins gets to tell the story. And they exercise their power to diminish, erase, and downplay the stories of others. And so we are in this battleground of history right now with so much going on. And so today, I want to go back and I'm going to read this quote to you again. Started this month off reading Dr. Woodson's quote, and I'm going to read it again because this is what's at stake. If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. If you determine what a man shall think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he will do. If you make a man feel that he is inferior, you do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, You do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told. And if there is no back door, his very nature will demand one. I bring that up because we are at a place where controlling a man's thinking is underway in so many nefarious, underhanded, untruthful, and unkind ways that Carter G. Woodson speaks these many years later. And so this power in history really begs this whole quote and brings it forward. And so over the last few weeks, we've talked about various aspects of Black history and the fight for history, not just the fight for history, but the fight that happens when there is demonstrative advancement for this nation to be who it says it is on paper. Whenever there has been real advancement, there has been its related backlash. And that backlash has been violent, it has been systematic, it has been done through legal means, and it has been done through illegal practices. And so in our first week, we really talked about history not being neutral, right? And about that there's a controlling narrative underway. And it's about controlling the past, it's about controlling the present, and it's most importantly about controlling the future. And so that's what we started the month talking about. And then we really looked at Robert Smalls, who had an outsized, often untold impact on the way in which we have funded public education. So Robert Smalls was an enslaved person, became enslaved through his ingenious activity. He commandeered a Confederate ship liner and then turned the ship liner over to members of the Union Army. And then he became a lawmaker and a congressperson, and then really fought for funded free public schooling in South Carolina. And his model became a model that we use in the United States, that we have free, publicly funded, nationwide education. And then we talked about every march toward educational progress has been met with backlash because access to power, access to knowledge is power, right? So because access to the knowledge is power, there has been real efforts, like I said, legal and otherwise, violent and otherwise, means of going backwards. And we find ourselves in this space of going backwards all over again. And so we also talked about the idea that power moves on this continuum. And we talked about you go from acquiescence all the way up to committed. And one thing I want to clear up for this is that this is not linear. So you don't start at one and end at another, or go to one and go to another in a linear straight line fashion. You move across this sort of spiral of power exchange and power going back and forth between people and institutions. So right now we are living in this space up here of acquiescence, because there's a lot of fear, a lot of threat, a lot of sanctions, and people don't know what to do. And so a lot of people have leaned into the fear because and I can understand that. People are losing their jobs. People are losing funding. People thought that public schooling was not going to be as attacked as it is. And here we though find ourselves. So you move from acquiescence, you move into compliance, you move into indifference, you move into conformity, and you move to committed. And again, you don't do that in a linear manner. It happens over time. It happens through changes in conditions, right? The conditions create where and how power is exchanged. Committed is where we want people. We want people committed to truth, to real truth, not this truth that is fake truth. So I say, we had this thing called, fake news. Well, fake truth, there is such a thing as fake truth. And so we don't want people committed to fake truth. There are facts that are real facts. And we want people to really, when they are committed to a power exchange, that they're doing it based upon real knowledge. And so that's what we talked about there. But this week, we are shifting gears and we're going to talk about power in history is in the remembering. And what you see right now are three ways in which we have seen the Statue of Liberty. And in the middle, we're going to talk about what you didn't learn in school about the Statue of Liberty. And then on the either sides, what we see about the Statue of Liberty right now. So this idea of liberty and justice is tantamount to how we understand the Statue of Liberty. It is all about the freedom. It's all about liberty and justice. But here's what you were taught in school. You were taught that certain people came to the United States via Ellis Island, and they came through the Statue of Liberty. And that's how they got named. That's how they gained entry into the United States. I chose this particular image because it begins to open the door for this discussion about what really happened with the Statue of Liberty. And so here's the tea. We talk about tea. Tea is like gossiping. So maybe I should look around and start whispering. But the truth of the matter is this. The original Statue of Liberty was sent to the United States by a French architect. And I don't want to say his name incorrectly. I will share out his information and the specifics in article form. And if you want that information, you can go ahead and email me and I'll give you the information so you can get it. He sent the cast of the Statue of Liberty in this format. And if you can see, her hand is raised. Obviously, her right hand is raised like we normally see it. But in her left hand, what you are seeing are chains. The original Statue of Liberty had chains in her hands because it was sent to the United States in celebration of the end of enslavement. He did the rendering, I believe, somewhere between 1865 and 1866. And the purpose was, as I just said, the purpose really was about celebrating the fact that this country, who champions or says it championed liberty and justice for all, actually was moving in the direction of with liberty and justice for all. But as you can imagine, having chains in Statue of Liberty's hands in New York Harbor was too much to be shown, and it would challenge the identity the American system was trying to craft for itself. There is an identity that the United States is a country who champions justice and freedom for every single person. Well, you can't have a statue with chains in their hands celebrating the end of slavery when you are about a country that champions justice, because then that will bring into question your very identity. So what happened? They had to make a change. He decided to make a change. French, here's his name, registered in 1876. I was all wrong. I was 10 years off schedule. The original design is shown holding a broken chain and shackle in her left hand, celebrating the end of slavery. The copyright, here's the great news. The copyright on the original Statue of Liberty sculpture is ended. It's over, which means it is now in the public domain and creators can use it in any way they think is fitting for them to use. And that is interesting to me because now you cannot hide this because all you have to do is put in original design of the Statue of Liberty and it will come up. So here's what we see now. We see the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor, hand raised, but in her left hand is a tablet. And the tablet has July 4th, 1776 on it. And at her feet are the chains. So they took the chains out of the hands and moved it to the feet. That is huge because it is a dual form of sort of keeping something, but then sweeping it kind of under the rug so others don't see it as prominently. And unless you go to the Statue of Liberty and there are certain tours will make this point very clear and other ones will not. It's kind of the luck of the draw. So liberty and justice are incomplete without truth. And truth is power. That is why there is power in history. And that is why it is so dangerous for there to be wholesale removal of archives. We're seeing this, national archives being closed down, data being taken out. School children are not learning about the Statue of Liberty. Now, here's the truth. I'm going to tell you a story. So I was working with a customer of mine. And like I said, the work that we do here at Liaison Educational Partners is all about helping organizations get to what's called representational balance in curriculum. So one of my partners I was working with was doing a series of books, and they were talking about the Statue of Liberty and freedom. And I said, well, let me tell you something. If you're going to talk about liberty and freedom and the Statue of Liberty, then you're going to have this conversation about what really happened, that the Statue of Liberty was a gift to celebrate the end of enslavement. And the faces of these curriculum providers, ghost-like, they had no idea. And these were adults, very smart people, very committed people. But right then and there, the danger in history of the erasure, of not including that real information. And so what did they do? They fact checked me. I love being fact checked. Go ahead and fact check me. And they said, you know what? Since this information is out here and it's the real truth information, we're going to include it in our materials. They weren't able to include it in the body of the text because the text already been commissioned and into the production stage. But what they did do was they added information about the Statue of Liberty to make it more complete. That's the power. The truth is the power. And that's something that we have to really be careful of because we are in danger and education is under attack. And so, erasure and the future. I want to talk right now and switch gears a little bit and really talk about the fact that because of all this erasure, the very way in which we get information is now in jeopardy, right? The dangerous cycle of censorship is going to create AI bias and going to lead to misinformation. We don't always think about that. We think about taking information off the shelves right now. But the real situation is happening is AI tools are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. And so if you know anything about the AI models that we use, they're based upon input and they're based upon information that is available in the larger community, in the ethosphere, atmosphere. So if in fact we are seeing information about the histories of all people, and for me, this is Black Americans history. We're in Black History Month, but this transcends just Black history. This is a real challenge that we're facing, that if in fact we continue to see books taken off shelves, curricular restriction, educators being threatened with sanctions and loss of jobs, and civil servants being fired at will, we're going to see a limited output and a limited availability of information coming from these AI tools. And I did something. I decided to talk to my AI friends, and here is what I asked them. I said, the current leadership of the United States has made a decision to actively erase anything related to the descendants of enslaved people and our impact on this country from our free labor being the very reason this country became the economic powerhouse it has come to be, to the laws enacted to continue our disenfranchisement and beyond. Here's what I asked it. As this information becomes less and less available, how does that impact your ability to have and share multiple perspectives and images that are not pejorative and negatively stereotypical? This is my prompt. And here is what AI responded. My responses and the images I generate come from a broad range of sources and texts accumulated over time. When historical narratives are diminished or omitted from public discourse, it means that fewer voices, details, and nuances are available to draw upon. This can limit the range of perspectives I can offer, images and narratives that reflect the true complexity of those histories. And this is the next part of the answer. Look at this. This is the response that the AI tool I use generated for me. In practical terms, if important parts of history are systematically erased or downplayed, then both public understanding and digital resources may become more one-sided. This reduction in data and even reinterpretations of past data might not fully capture the contributions, struggles, and cultural legacies of those whose experiences have been marginalized. For me, as an AI drawing on diverse data, that means there's a risk that some viewpoints could be underrepresented in the materials I've been trained on or in the resources available for reference. And this is the next thing that they said. This is when I got to this part of the response, I was actually really touched. Here's what the AI tool said. I strive to provide multiple perspectives and to ensure that representations are respectful and accurate. However, the broader ecosystem of accessible historical records ultimately shapes the breadth and depth of the perspectives I can share. In short, any systematic erasure of important historical narratives not only impacts collective memory, but also challenges efforts to maintain a full and nuanced public record from the response of an AI tool. So, if the AI tool can understand this, what do you think the humans can understand? Which is why they are working so hard to erase aspects of history. That's where we find ourselves. So the power in history really is in the power of remembering. It really is in making sure that there is information in the public sphere so that when you go to your AI tool, you're able to ask it a prompt like this and get information. Or you're able to ask a prompt and then go back and say, hey, I would like the perspective from this group or that group. I've done that too. I've asked for some insights into understanding the challenge of social dominance theory. I really did that. And they gave me a list of researchers. And I said, well, I would like this from a different perspective. They went back and pulled up people, researchers, scholars from age. They pulled up Asian scholars, they pulled up African scholars. So we are in jeopardy right now of really having a narrow frame around which or from which our students can draw information. If the United States is to be who we say we are on paper, we must have the broadest amount of information available for our young people to build the critical skills they need to be competitive in the world. Narrowing down what they learn does not prepare them for the world they're going to enter. It makes them less prepared. And that's something we've got to really begin to lean more heavily into. So, what can be done? First things, educate and speak truth. Challenge the whitewashed version of history. Use books, lectures, digital media, amplify real history. Advocate against censorship. Push back against book bans, curricular changes, and the erasure of Black history, and the erasure of Asian history, and the erasure of Native American, Indigenous history, and global histories of peoples of the world. Push against that. Use visual and cultural storytelling. Share the images, discuss the facts, and ensure the next generation understands the full story. AI advocacy and digital literacy. Encourage the inclusion of diverse perspectives in AI training data. Push for transparency in how AI tools source and present historical facts. Mobilize and organize. Build and support Black-led literacy initiatives, public advocacy, and historical accuracy campaigns. Build those out. We can do something. My ancestors came through in worse circumstances than we're in, and their very lives were on the line. Teaching an enslaved person how to read and how to write and how to have basic numeracy was a matter of life and death. And yes, it is scary to lose a job. I've lost a job before. It is scary, but it's not life and death. People were under life and death circumstances. And what our young people deserve, they deserve a generation of people willing to stand up for their values and put their actions where they say their values are. And then I want to do a special call for curriculum developers. It's really, really important because you really control a lot of what young people get. So for the curriculum developers, what can you do? You can partner with legal and advocacy organizations. You can create adaptable curriculum options. You can engage in educator and parent-led workshops, strategically distribute materials through underground networks. And then you can really do some digital and AI-driven solutions to outmaneuver the censorship. You have power. We have power. We do not have to acquiesce. We do not have to conform. We do not have to comply. And we certainly do not have to be indifferent. We can be committed when we put our actions where we say our values are. Education really, really is power. And the education and the systems and the processes really do matter. It is incumbent upon all of us who say we care about every child that we engage in remembering that there is power in history, and that the power in history is in remembering and making sure that the stories get told of everybody. And so as we wrap up this series on the power in history, invite you to go back. Please share this. Please like this. Please join the conversation. And I'm going to invite you always to get the book. If you want a signed copy, go ahead and scan the QR code. Go ahead. I'll put the book up again. There's the book. You can get the book. Would love to have it and join you in a conversation. And here's my offer. If you are in a position to buy a set of books, and for me, a set is 30 books. You buy 30 books, I will join you for 2 free 1-hour talk sessions. I'm doing that right now with an organization in the UK, having a wonderful conversation with that group. So I would love to invite you to do that as well. That's how you can get the books. And also, let's keep talking. If you want to delve deeply into how do you build more agentic environments through understanding instructional power, let's keep talking. There is a chat. You can connect to me on my website as well. And as always, I'm going to see you next week. Have a great rest of your day.